Thank you, Mr President. Mr President, those who are friends of mine on Facebook would know that last Friday to Sunday I attended an outstanding festival, the Unconformity in Queenstown. Members will also recall that I spoke about this festival a few weeks ago, encouraging others to go. Well, those who didn't missed out on a world-class event with world-class entertainment. Before speaking specifically about the event, I'd like to acknowledge the work of the whole Unconformity Festival team, led by Festival Director Travis Tiddy and Board Chair Sandy Chilcott. The amazing team also included Dan Rook, Alison Wilkes, Amy Joseph, Andrew Ross, Lee Walpole, Trudy Meagh, Megan Crump, Lee Stiles, Adam Manson, Peter Walker, Shane Pitt, Joy Chappell, Anne McKay, Joe Gaspergic, June Abel, Raymond Arnold, Martin Coots, Duck Pond and Dylan Sheridan. There are many others who also made a significant contribution. I thank them all. The festival team were also supported by a huge number of well-organised and dedicated volunteers, all visible in their blue Unconformity high-vis vests. Such an event could not go on without these wonderful people who actually didn't get to see many of the events as a result of their commitment. So I thank all of those people. Mr President, I'd also like to thank the sponsors and partners of this event. There are many who made a major contribution to the event and too many to name within my allocated time. But I'd like to note, however, that the current funding agreement through Events Tasmania has ended, and I asked the leader in her role as Minister of the Arts to work with the Unconformity team to ensure this high quality festival can continue with appropriate funding, as she herself knows how important and successful this event is. Not just in tourism impacts and benefits, but in terms of the health and wellbeing impacts and the tangible support for the West Coast residents and businesses, many of whom continue to struggle through tough economic times the region is facing at the moment. I know the member for Derwent thoroughly enjoyed himself after getting through the border control just north of Derwent Bridge, and also noticed the leader enjoying herself at a range of events, including the, in particular perhaps, the Oasis After Hours Club, a true gem and relic from the past under the Empire Hotel that has been released from the dust and desertion and vacancy of the past quarter of a century. The pale pink carpeted walls were freshly vacuumed, and let's just say it was packed on both nights. The member for Derwent was also seen in there, along with his fearless leader. I think it only had to be fearless that night, I think. Mr President, there is so much to tell and only a few minutes to do it. Mr President, Queenstown and the West Coast generally have become a cultural and art hub. So many talented artists are living in the region and their work is displayed and has been displayed throughout the town. Many are making a very clear link in their work. And I could do a special interest speech on each one. I'll try and summarise and note that it would be impossible to get to all of them. Locals opened up their homes and their businesses to the world. There were visitors from all around the state, the country and some from overseas who came specifically for the festival from the United States. The Tasman Peninsula, the East Coast and various places on the mainland, and as I said, one couple who were travelling from overseas. Thousands of people descended on Queenstown. Accommodation was booked out weeks ago across the West Coast and nearly all ticketed events were sold out. I was very glad I'd booked tickets and accommodation early. All the events had a direct and tangible link to the West Coast and enabled all who attended the opportunity to really immerse themselves in the place, the sounds, the land, the air, the water, the wonderful West Coast. So, Mr President, a brief précis of some of the events that I know will not do justice to the festival overall. The Paragon Theatre was once again being used as a true gem and asset it is in Queenstown. The Paragon housed the pop-up radio station Unconformity Radio 7UN and ran throughout the festival. Great listening. The Crib Room transformed the Main Street area into a food and party hub and for serving great Tasmanian food, wines, beers and gin. Mudlark Theatre premiered an amazing performance written by Cameron Hindram, who lived in Queenstown during his teenage years. This incredible performance was set in Queenstown during the time of the Gordon Below Franklin era and was truly a coming-of-age story. The incredibly powerful story and convincing actors had a deep impact. At one stage almost yelled out, "No, stop, don't do it." It was so confronting, and I'll speak more about this performance at a later time. Fault Traces was an incredible new solo work by percussive artist Matthias Schack Arnott. Matthias used subsonic frequencies to trigger vibrational patterns in layers of objects strewn across materials including shells, pipes, cymbals, bells, bamboo rods, rocks, metal bowls and more. The audience was given a physical and psychological experience of the subterranean world. I have never experienced sound waves in that same way before. William Mountain took us to the Iron Blow in the evening, taking the power of the earth and the wind, because it was very windy, with all the sights, sounds and tactile sensations they bring. We also got to eat the amazing cake mountain. How to See Through Fog was a documentary that detailed the story of Mount Lyell copper mines' stories since the 2014 tragedies. It was a story of disappointment and acceptance as well as hope for the future. This was attended by many people, many of whom have returned to Queenstown to catch up with friends and enjoy the festival. We built this city in the Queenstown Memorial Hall was heaven for children and adults alike. Building a city and knocking it down out of thousands of cardboard cartons had to be experienced to be understood. The joy on the faces of the children, the laughter, the noise of happy voices and excitement was wonderful. And there was an area for very young children and even a box hospital for any boxes that had been injured and needed repair. The support of adults who assisted in the setup and during the event was wonderful too. We built this city. It was an opportunity for all the school children from around the West Coast to come and play before the event was open to the public. And to see the looks on the children's faces, to hear the laughter and the joy in the hall, and as they left the hall was just wonderful. Mr. President, I could spend much longer talking about other events, and I will use other opportunities to do this. So I wish to conclude with one story that was also very profound and had a real impact on those who took the journey into dark water. In this amazing performance, we followed a woman onto a steam train and then underground and shared her journey to the centre of the earth through the depths of despair and grief. This was a truly moving journey that touched some of our deepest emotions with a very talented actor. Everyone who I spoke to who attended the event was deeply moved and touched by this experience. A very insightful journey through grief, and I'm sure will be long remembered. This event cleverly used important infrastructure within the town and no doubt has enticed some members of the community who may not be so into the arts as most people expect the arts to be, and to actually get into the arts. I know that Member Dermott has a whole new love and appreciation for the arts as a result of this performance, and I know he's really keen to tell you about it. Therefore, I will conclude by commending all those involved in an absolutely successful event in every sense. I look forward to the 2018 event and the other events that will lead up to it, including the Queenie Ute Muster.
The Honourable Member for Derwent.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd just like to follow on from the Honourable Member for Murchison's contribution because the Unconformity Festival was certainly something that I think delivered a lot more than maybe it promised from the outset. I knew it was going to be interesting, I knew it was going to be different, and you know, following on from Dark Mofo and other great art events, this was certainly right up there, and quite, well, literally it was quite moving, as well as being, I suppose, more about, they say art should confront you, make you think, and it certainly did. It was pretty amazing. I too congratulate the organisers of this festival. I think the whole weekend, Travis Tiddy, who was the main organiser, was completely focused on making sure everything worked. I don't think he really took the time to stop and enjoy what he and the others around the West Coast area had created. And to have accommodation across the West Coast booked out at this time of year is certainly a great achievement. Have people actually having to commute to Queenstown from far away Strawn, and the roads were quite busy throughout the weekend. And the festival just illustrated how important it is for regional communities to reinvent themselves and not to concentrate on what has gone, but to utilise what it still has and to build on that. And I think Queenstown really set the bar for doing this. This also happened to New Norfolk during the Dark Mofo, and just to hark back to that, that illustrated how a former mental health facility that nobody has really had a good idea for a long time. You know, what do we do with all these old wards and buildings and but it was the perfect place for an art event, and to see people in that instance flocking to New Norfolk at all hours of night to go into an old hospital ward to see a man doing his art was quite unbelievable. And I think, as with the Queenstown locals, it just showed the people of the Derwent Valley that maybe there is a little bit more to what they have than just crumbling old asbestos-ridden buildings. And it just put a whole new slant on things. And just through art, it's amazing what can be done, because with the New Norfolk one, for example, I walked up the high street, and here are unguarded 44 gallons of drums with great fires in them. And I thought if anyone had gone to the council and said, oh, you know, I want to stick a few burning drums down the street, they would have said, get out, you know. But this
comment was that it wouldn't happen in Sydney, but
yeah,
it could happen here in
And then to
Tassie.
see people lined up to go through an old hospital ward that probably didn't meet any OH&S standards was and all the broken glass. And I could just see regular possum poo. There were so many, and possums, live possums.
Still live in residence.
But it's just amazing, Mr. President, to see what you can do under the art banner. And this was exactly the same in Queenstown. The event that the Honourable Member for Murchison spoke about, the very moving deep water. There were a number of times when I think back, I didn't at the time, particularly knowing you know, how the rail regulator works, to have a performance on a train that you got on that didn't have any seats. You were there to stand with movable hazards in the middle of the floor, and someone unrestrained doing somersaults on a ladder, basically, and then to actually get off and perform in front of a locomotive without having orange tape everywhere and
Good idea. If we don't think it might comply with OH&S,
make it
just
art.
call it art.
Call it art. But I think it's got to be entertaining at the same time. And to walk up through the bush, up a track that...
I do that all the time.
Yeah, but this track was a fairly challenging one. Might have been okay for the Honourable Leader in her condition, and the very flexible member for Murchison, but for the larger, stumbling sort of middle-aged mess that I am, it was, you know, huffing and puffing up a hill, and then to go into this old mine tunnel for the rest of the performance was just no lights, trip hazards, old railway trolley lines on the ground, an amazing use of what Queenstown has, and to make, like, I couldn't think of that performance working as well as it did anywhere else, and to go on a journey with art, like if we're indeed in the tunnel, but to, you know, to have, I thought, now if I was sitting in a theatre, this wouldn't have had the same impact. It was because it was out, it was happening, and it was very real. And I think the lesson that Queenstown and New Norfolk have set there for other regional communities is really have a good look at what you've got. Just on the other side of it, the Honourable Member for Murchison has mentioned the community involvement, and it was great to see people that I imagine from the old Queenstown past would have probably been thinking, what the hell's going on here, and why are all these people in our town watching all this this weird activity? But they were all very welcoming. There were old shops that hadn't been open for a while where local craft groups had set up bits and pieces to sell, timber work, that type of thing. It involved the Lions and the Rotary clubs doing the catering in the crib room, which was just amazing, and the quality of the food was a lot more than just a sausage sizzle. It was all very, very good. They had sports clubs involved, and of course the amazing Box City, where all the kids of the town were building buildings in the town hall out of all these beautiful wooden boxes. And it was there was one young fella that was building a box house, and he was trying to lift it up, and I said, "Oh, I can help you," and I lifted him up there, and we got into a conversation, and he said, "Oh, this is my house. I built this house, and I've got a secret door, but you won't be able to see it because you won't fit through there. You're too big." So I think he probably meant tall, but anyway, it was just to have that interaction and to see that vibrancy in the town hall was just really amazing. And the ongoing effects have been good too. There's been awards for their website that was designed by Take Flight. They picked up an award which was very good, and I believe the television commercial also got an award. So there was great things that came off this. So yeah, and I think it was also a good... Oh no, it was all good.
I'm giving you plenty of latitude with time, and I know members really today, but for one, have gone a couple of minutes over, so...
I'm still under... I'm just about to go.
I know there's been a lot of interjections, that's why
Thank you, Mr President, thank you.
Letting you go into the 3rd minute.
I am on to the very last, the last line, so I just think that it was great to see so many sharing in what was a well-organised and very enjoyable event in one of our state's historically rich and iconic Tasmanian regions, and watch this space, there's certainly a lot more to come.
Hear, hear.